Welcome in, everyone. Gosh, we had a little bit of technical difficulties there for a few minutes, but we're all set thanks to a spiritual connection, and we'll share that story in just a little bit. I'm Kimberly. This is Journey to the New Earth, and tonight we have a really fun little conversation, which we'll get into in just a few minutes. I really appreciate you showing up. Make sure you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps the algorithm. And now I want to bring in Lynda Nichols, who I'm so excited to have here tonight. Hi, Lynda. How are you?
Fabulous.
We were having
Excited to be here,
yeah, a couple of probably tech challenge ladies trying to figure this out. Tell
really.
tell us what you finally did.
I just sat here because we've been trying for several minutes because, we started before time and we tried everything we could. And I finally she got quiet and I just detached and I said, I need some help. And the next thing I know, I pop up on the screen. So I don't know what they did, but they did it.
Yeah, see, it pays to have friends in high places. That's what I told her. And it's true. It pays to have a good connection. Lynda, I am so excited about this conversation tonight. It's a little spicy. It is the PSYOP of New Age, which is a topic that's been on my mind for a long, long time. And I think when you and I had our interview together, we talked about it a little bit, not on camera. And I thought it would be fun to have you in
Okay.
and kind of let's just kind of go over it. But first, for the people that you might be new to, can you just give a little bit of your background so it kind of gives them a jumping off point from where you're going to be coming from with your comments?
Okay. My first encounter with a being other than a human was at 6, and that's gone on my whole life. And so, at about 15, I would say I had a Kundalini awakening, they are very difficult. So, from 15 to probably 21 is where I really immersed myself and tried to understand and have communication with those beings that were speaking to me because I was frightened that they were from the dark, to be honest, because this is back in the 60s. And so there was nothing out there available to do that. But I finally settled down, to be honest, and they kept showing me positive, positive, positive. I became a nurse and started working with a doctor in about, I'm trying to think the year, probably around 73, 74. And so I could see what was going on in the body. So because I had a really good relationship with him. And so I started telling him, he said, okay, let's play with this. So I would do a scan. I would tell him what I saw. And then when we would do testing to back it up, to see if it was real, because it could be just me making things up. And so it was. So I worked with him until he passed. I've worked with the Air Force. I've worked with law enforcement. I worked with legal, all walks of life, because I have been able to connect into a realm where I can move through time and dimensions. But with that, which I haven't really spoke about, I just kind of mentioned a couple of things to Kimberly, but there are other beings and other forces in those realms that I encountered, and I had some hair-raising experiences with that. And I've never shared that publicly with anyone. So what I want to say is there are things and those out there that don't have our best interest at heart, if you will. And so we need discernment in everything we do. And I'm going to say everything I say, take it with a grain of salt, because you need to run it through your filters and your truth. And you need to do that with everyone, because everyone has that ability to recognize truth. And this is what we need on the planet right now, because we are being hoodwinked from left to right and 9 ways to breakfast. And so this is why we're in the state of chaos we're in. But I can tell you, if you will go within, we can pull ourselves out of this mess. So that's it in a nutshell.
That is a whole bushel full of nuts right there. Thank you. And it's interesting, Lynda, everything that you said, we are exactly on the same page. There's so many issues right now that I don't know if I'm struggling with, but they're definitely on my mind. The first and foremost, the PSYOP of New Age, and we're going to kind of dig into that. One thing I can say, and this is going to sound a little cynical, but it's a little true. Actually, it's very true. The most energetically gifted people I know, and I know a lot of them, and I've interviewed several. They are not sitting on pillows in dim rooms draped in beads. They look like the librarian.
Yeah.
There is a difference between putting on a costume to feel like you're doing something and actually expanding your consciousness. And expanding your consciousness is exactly the solution to what's going on the planet. There's no other way out.
Nope.
No other way out. And what we're going to talk about tonight are maybe some of the traps with the New Age movement. And if you are trying to take over a planet and control a collective, a civilization, you are, of course, going to be sophisticated in your tactics. And one of the things you're going to do is put together a movement that looks attractive, that looks like it's solving the problem when actually it's just spinning wheels and creating more distractions. And I think, Lynda, what you brought up is the chaos, and that chaos is intentional because when we are confused about what to believe, the human goes to giving up or feeling defeated or feeling like they don't have any power in their world. But what you can turn it into is a burning desire to understand truth from within you. So thank you so much, Lynda, for that opening. Why don't we start in with how you would describe New Age and where it might have gone wrong, or where you might see it either disempowering people or sending them in the wrong direction?
It started really pretty much in the beginning, because let's go back to, again, I've been in this over 50 years, closer to 60. And at that time, when you started to open, there were these people that rose up in it, and they were charismatic. It's very much like religion. Spirituality is no different than the way religion's been run. It's exactly the same thing. It's just under a different umbrella. And so then people were told that they have to, and this girl Cheryl wrote bamboozled. She's exactly right. So these people would rise up and they would present themselves as knowing. And so when you first, just like me, when I first started dealing with all this, I looked for someone to help me. Someone needed to have some answers to my questions. And I searched and couldn't find anyone until I went within. And so, but most people then would subscribe to this person, and so there were gurus, and you followed them. And the way to do that, the more, like you said, the beads and all that, the more that they presented the physicality around them to create the illusion, the more people are drawn to them because they think they know. And we got sucked into that. And so then there's been a lot of information basically that has been filtered down, and it gets into the subconscious. So what's happened, like in, say, my generation, so if you have these people, let's say, that are indoctrinated and their kids hear it, and so even through almost like osmosis, that it's passed down to these beliefs which are false. But this is how this came from off-world beings, is what started it. And so a lot of these people that were the gurus, and still are, it's done a little bit differently now. And I want to bring up something, because I'm from the Sedona area. And I can't remember, it's probably maybe 10 years ago, when there was this particular person that had a sweat lodge and people died. And they were in there and it was too hot. And because they wanted to get out, and they said, no, because you are meant to stay in here. So basically, they convinced them to stay, and they passed. So this is exactly what I'm saying. We've given over our power through these people there again, but who is manipulating. And I do think there's some of them that are unaware of their truths that they're passing on are not truth, but they're meant to basically disempower us and control us, which this is where we're at right now. So as she said, if it looks good and it's intriguing and the incense and all of this, and you can go in there and, sit with like this and om all day. Well, that's not doing anything for the planet. Here's the other thing. The planet, there is so much history here. The planet started out being in the fifth dimension, and through free will, there was a thing that happened that, because we're underneath a 12D grid, they did a sub thing with a 50 grid, and they opened the grid because there's the powers that be, wanted to allow humans to have their free will. Well, these fourth dimension beings came in, and that's where a lot of this started. So that's different than, let's say, if you've heard the term reptilians, there's different than the fourth degree beings. And that's who I encountered literally face to face. And I've had near-death experiences because of it. And they're nothing to mess with.
Now, when you say you encountered, are you talking about the fourth dimensional beings or the
Fourth dimensional beings.
And what was it about them that was dangerous?
They attack those that are in power. Like, I started being very public. I just don't want to sound like, I'm just a person. I'm nothing special. But in the 80s, when most of you, I'm sure, will know who Bashar is, who Lee Carroll Cryon is, who Abraham is, a lot of them started in this area. And I was one that started right around that time in public channeling. And so I didn't have a partner where most of them had, a wife or a husband or something like this. And so that could kind of run interference. I did have, and we have to have gatekeepers with this. When you do this channeling, there's a gatekeeper that you work with. But anyway, it got to be so much that I started to being really, really attacked. And I got so sick that I couldn't even get up to go to the restroom. And so anyway, there was a person, and this happened. I'm going to give you, areas to tell you where there's some really a lot of, I'm going to use the word evil. So it was, there again, you've got Sedona, and then down the road a ways, there's Cottonwood, but just up the mountain, we call it up the hill, there's Jerome. And it's known, and it's been on programs where to be one of the most evil places. And I lived there, and that's where I was attacked. And I'm telling you, an angel came in because they set my house on fire. I've lost 3 homes that's been burned. I can just go on and on and on that they would attack me. So finally I surrendered and said, I'm not doing this. And so I just quietly, there again, step back. And so I've done readings privately, but that's why you will not find me out there, because it was just too dangerous, to be honest. Because if we are a threat, because we are a threat to them, if we come through and try to bring, all I'm trying to do is to bring in an anchor light, and you take of it what you will. The thing of it is, what we need to understand, if you're really struggling, everything has a consciousness. I don't care whether it's a rock, a flower, a tree, or whatever, and they're holding the light from Mother Earth. So there's a lot here in between, but she finally got back to the fifth dimension in 1987. She will never be destroyed. They will not allow it. So everybody's worrying about, nuclear war and things like this. I'm telling you, those that protect us will not allow that. But there's a free will. We can do all the scrimmaging. That's the word they use for war. All the scrimmaging we want. And the solar flares are informational that's coming down because it's embedded in our DNA, and it's in the Akashic records. Akashic records is only in um, our our world, and I don't want to say our world because it's the 12th dimension and all that. It doesn't exist outside that in other, let's say, I don't know what I want to call this, um, galaxies. Let's just put it that way. So the Akashic record lives in your eighth chakra, which is just above your head. So when you start to work in this, when I had talked last time about sliding up and we're already there, we come from there. There's two sets of beings here, either volunteers or light workers that's on the planet. You're one or the other. And so, but we're all here to serve. And so when you start to go in and slide up to that through the chakra system and slide in, you can start tapping into the higher self, and then the I in the Akashic records, the higher self, and then the I am presence. The I am presence is what's plugged into source or God, whatever word you want. But we have the ability, and this is what they took away from us, to go up there and commune with all of that higher knowledge, light, love. And so what happened is it's like we got cut off. And so this is what we're trying to do now. That's all I'm here to do, is to help you connect to that. Because when you do that and connect into that, you control your external world. Because through intention, just like we were sitting here in my mind, physically trying to get this silly thing so working, and I could not, so I could just surrendered, and I just sat here and I said, please fix this because I can't. And the next thing you know, I popped up on the screen. So I had nothing to do with that. I'm not special, we all have that. What we have to ask and believe and have in faith in that there's those here that are here just to serve us. You have no idea how much and how dedicated there are beings that are here just for us and for the planet.
Yeah,
And
we
so,
have such a tremendous amount of help. I'm so humbled by it continually. So I want to go back and clarify a few things. You said that if you're on the planet right now, you're either a volunteer or a light worker.
right.
My experience, and maybe I'm seeing something different, but I feel like there's a lot of NPCs on the planet right now. Like
That's
people,
true.
it's like
I'm talking to about the people that are here, the
paying
people,
attention to this.
the
Yeah.
people that are not, because what you have all the hybrids, which there are a lot of the hybrids, because that's what the 4D beings did and experimented with, to everybody's shock that's higher than them. So they did a lot of that. This all really started, that part of this started about 4,500 years ago. Well, it's actually 5,000 years ago when they opened the 5D grid and these beings got snuck in, and they closed it, but they still had about 500, was it? Yeah, 500 years doing all this before it was recognized in the 5D grid, which is protecting us now, was closed. The thing that I've thought a lot about is CERN. When
Yeah.
CERN was doing that, because CERN was actually opening that portal to the fourth dimension, where a person I used to talk to a lot from, they're again from Europe, and he called it where that allowed the demons to come through. But there's, that was his word for the our jinn, for the fourth dimension beings. But there's a lot of different types of beings that are fourth dimensional, and they created hybrids.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different, there's not just Earth humans on the planet.
Mm-mm.
There's a lot of different types of humans, different types of
They call them
entities,
humanoids.
humanoids, yeah, bipedal, that sort of thing. And there's also a lot going on inside the planet, underneath
Uh,
the planet. And that's something that
they've
when
tried to
you,
shut that down.
yeah, I don't, I don't know, they
They
haven't.
haven't quite got it, even though they said everything, they've closed everything and they've got most of them off. But then they did tell me, because I checked on this a couple of days ago, and they said no, they weren't able to get all of them. But they feel that when the frequency keeps going, that should handle it. Is what that didn't really satisfy me, that answer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So let's go down the road of, okay, so if the new age thing, and The thing that frustrates me about the new age is I feel like it's more about the external than the internal.
100%.
And like you said, it's very much like religion, and the whole point and purpose of religion on the planet, it had nothing to do with God. It had
Mm-mm.
everything to do with making sure that humans were herded into the right behavior patterns and that were controlled. So that's what religion is. It doesn't matter which religion. It was a control mechanism.
Yeah.
And so the new age, it was rinse and repeat with a new costume and new lingo, but it's still the same kind of vacuous, oh, I don't know, ritual
Yeah.
that doesn't get us any closer to where we need to be. And where we need to be is to expand our consciousness, to click back into that energy that has been shut off. And it has been shut off, I believe, Linda, and you can confirm this both genetically and with our environment, like bread and circuses, constant entertainment, constant overload, constant
Distraction.
distractions so that we're not sitting quietly. We're not getting in touch with that inner voice. So can you talk to us let's say we're talking with someone who's just new to the concept of consciousness. They've been meditating a little bit, but they just haven't gone very far. What would you suggest, and how would you kind of walk them through understanding what it feels like to expand your consciousness, to expand that inner knowing, to work with the chakras and start working in the way that we need everyone to get to so that we can get out of this pickle that we're in?
I would start, instead of meditating in that way, I would start with the chakras. The chakras is that's where everything comes in. The chakras are the connection points to the other dimensions and frequencies. So if you're just sitting down to meditate, that's why people have difficulty, because you're trying to meditate. It's almost like trying to drive a car with a flat tire.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
So what
analogy.
you need to do is start with the chakras, and that chakra is this sitting, um and I'm going to go a lot of things I'm going to say is going to go against the grain here with people, but they have the colors of the chakras, and I understand them doing that. But when a chakra is in balance, it has no color, because it contains all colors. Because what it looks like, honestly, when I look at somebody and their chakras in balance, the color it is like when you blow bubbles and you saw the bubbles, it's like that with the iridescent,
Yes.
uh, like rainbow colors. And when a chakra is in balance, that's what it looks like. When it's out of balance, there again, it will, the color is a degree of imbalance, and that's where somebody saw at some point and labeled them those colors.
Okay. So if someone's sitting down to work with your chakras, how would you suggest they do it? Just move their focus from each chakra
Just
and
to go in and listen, and what they need to just get still and see what, but direct it. You need to direct it. It's like your focus, breath. Okay, that I would start with breath. So there's a lot of there's things out there that do breath. So breath work is probably first place you do, and move into, with that breath work on the chakras. As you do that, the meditation will come. Meaning, there again, because once you lock into that energy, it will take you and move you up. And it's designed to do that. It's not because that's our natural way of being. And once you just plug in, it's almost like plug and play, but you start with that. So I would say breath work and focus on your chakras. And there's lots of things out there that you can do. And I have some tools that I really love, and so I give them to my clients. These are extra things that I always email, or not me, but Rachel will email them, because I want them to succeed. So start with breath and chakras, and the meditation will come.
yeah.
How do you feel? There is a sense of calm, peace, And a lot of times for me, it pulls me up. I feel this energy pulling me up. And so what it tries to do is bring up your energy through the root chakra, because it's actually coming in through Mother Earth, because she's already 5D. So if you sit, and that's another thing, is if you're sitting someplace where you can be in contact with the Earth, that's going to help, because her frequency is going to move up through you. So another way I would do is, if you can't do all those things, sit and visualize that there are two rods of energy from Mother Earth coming up the soles of your feet, coming up and meeting into your body and blending and coming up, and just see that come up through the center, and then see it plugging into something up there at the top. So these are just little things, if I'm telling you, if you practice them, because you have, they're telling me, because we're having this conversation, there's lots of help stepping forward to the people that are going to listen to this or see this. All they have to do is ask for the help, because you have free will. They can intercede, but say, help me with this. Put it in your own words. Like I said, take what I say with a grain of salt, but invite the help. They're stepping forward right now to do this.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's something that's so important. It's not that you have to jump up and down and cluck like a chicken and, chant a certain chant. All you have to do is ask. Just
Exactly.
ask for help. And if you don't know what help you need, ask for the highest and greatest help that will serve you and the planet for that particular time. And you'll get more specific as time goes on.
As you work with it and you feel it, because the language of all of this is feeling, because you can't see the energy, but you can feel the energy. So if you start trusting what you feel, and I would say journal this, because what you're doing is learning the language with you and those that are helping you. And so, like, if you do this and then it consistently shows up, whatever shows up physically in your life, or whatever emotion or physical sensation consistently shows up, that's identifying things for you. So that gives you a basis or a foundation. And so you just keep working with it, because it's all about feeling. And then within the feeling comes the knowing, because the cells all have intelligence. And so you will start to understand and it's a quiet thing that is just, but there's peace, understanding, there's a calm that comes with it, and but it comes through the feeling.
Yeah. And one of the best outcomes for starting this practice is that the world's going to seem a little less uncomfortable every day. And you're going to start standing in your knowing. And one of the words that I would use is power. It gives you a sense of power. And I'm not talking the type of power that's a control power. It's a power in believing that you're capable, believing that you can, believing that you are everything that you need to be. And that when you start out there, that just continues to grow. It's just like learning how to play tennis or learning how to play a musical instrument. When you start, it's a bumpy road, but you just get better and better and better. And that's what happens with energy.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about something. Someone asked me this a while ago, and I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. I think I know the answer, but I want to hear from you. I know people who have incredible energetic power. And for instance, Cynthia Sue Larson, who is the sweetest, gentlest person. When you talk with her, she's so quiet, she's so calm. I know that woman could literally blow up a room with her energy. She's not going to do it. Penny Kelly, the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But she's very calm, very measured, never gets upset. And a few times I've seen her she was getting emotionally upset, and she knew she had to calm herself down because things were going to start flying around. I had someone say to me, well, if they have this power, why don't they show it? Like, why don't they walk in a room and start knocking things off the walls? So what's your answer to that? Because I have a sense that you have that same kind of ability.
Why would we? And
Well,
let me just to go. Why would we? Because that power is reserved for um, being productive. It's not about showing off. It's not about, it has nothing to do externally. It has to do with us stepping in and controlling the situation and work behind the scenes, because the more you step out and doing it, the more you're going to be attacked, the more it becomes disempowering. And there, when you know what you know, you don't care about what anybody else says or think. We just show up and do the work. And that's what I've said. You've heard, if you've listened to these podcasts, I just say do the work. We do the work. We're the ones that stand behind the scenes and put the glue in the cracks.
Yeah.
And that's all we're meant to do. Why the thing of it is, if you get into all of that, that's ego, and I could care less. I just want to do it because the takeaway for us being able to do something like that is inside. It's like, good job, we were able to help somebody, and that's all we need, because we know what we did. And our whole goal is to help others become who they need to be. That's it.
Yeah, that's so well put. I was listening to Bashar a few weeks ago, and it was not a recent recording. This was a recording that was done a while ago, but it's very topical. And he was talking about how we handle this takeover agenda on the planet. And he was trying to bring the listeners along to understanding that it's all about consciousness, that it's not about fighting back. In other words, in a kinetic way or in an angry way. And what he said was there are civilizations that fought fire with fire and they lost. And the only way to really get out of this is to rise above it. So, can you talk to us a little bit about how a collective does that? And I know that for me, I get frustrated when I see people in my community just completely hitting the snooze button on waking up. Like they just keep hitting the snooze button, keep hitting the snooze button. They don't want to look at reality. And I feel like, gosh, that's dragging us down. Like if everyone on the planet just for even 10 minutes just got into a place of higher consciousness, it would all be over. So how do we do this with, and you understand it, I understand it, the viewers understand it. How are we going to get enough momentum to actually get this to happen?
It's going to take time. And it's not, the chaos is ensuing now. It's going to take another, I hate to say this, could be as long as a decade. I don't think it's quite that long. But the bottom line is, the more of us that does the work and higher that we can do, is that we can bring them along. So it's, that's the way it's always been. But quite frankly, there's other things at play right now that I feel they're not going to be here. There's going to be a mass exodus of people, and you're seeing it now, young people dying, people having cardiac arrest and all this. So those that, because it has to do with the disparity between the frequencies. And if you're not of that frequency and you can't, and you're third, and let's say we're fifth, there's an incongruency. It just can't happen. But what happens is those frequencies, it's almost like people are short-circuited.
Oh, okay. So their body can't handle.
Exactly.
Oh, I have not heard that, but that makes perfect sense. Now, I have heard, or I had heard from some people, that there's going to be an actual splitting. In other words, there's going to be a 5D, there's going to be a 3D. Do you see?
Because I already know what the planet's done, and it's already there. She's already where she needs to be. That's part of all of that miscommunication, because what's going to happen is the souls are going to be recycled, and then they're going to come right back, And when they do, because then they understand everything, it's encoded in the DNA. So this is why there's going to be what I think, I can't think of her name, Ann Taylor talks about this solar thing that's happening. So that is
Oh,
actually
you mean Ann Tucker?
Ann Tucker, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is going to happen. But the reason that's happening is because in our DNA, all the activations in our DNA. And so this solar flare, I'll call it that, is because our energy it's encoded. So basically it's communicating to, that's why it's happening, why it's going to happen. It wasn't going to, but since there's not enough coming along, that's going to happen because it's to activate that in the DNA. And if that doesn't do it, then those people will, quite frankly, be recycled. And
Yeah.
and I say that in a way of, there's nothing wrong with that, because they're going to come right back if they choose to help the planet and the fifth D, because she's already there. She's waiting on us. And if quite frankly, she has the ability, if she doesn't like what's going on, because it's a universal law now, once she got to 50% light quotient, that she would never be destroyed. So it's like a dog with fleas. She's going to start shaking it off. So that's why you're going to see the rains and things that's going on is yes, some of it is done off world, if you know, with satellites and stuff, but there's also her so we're contending with it, kind of coming at us from both directions, but it's meant to help evolve.
Yeah. So Monica Luna has a question. For clarification, please, can beings from a lower dimension, e.g., 4D, have access to a higher dimension, 5D, without raising their
Absolutely
frequency?
not.
Okay. So
Absolutely not.
can you explain, for those who maybe are confused about frequency,
Uh-huh.
just give us a little primer on that, just a little quickie. And then I have a question about the naughty boys.
Okay, the best way I would describe it is like a layer cake.
Okay.
And so a frequency is a layer of a cake. And, right now, it goes up to like 40D. I mean, it goes way beyond, but you don't hear all of that. So it's a layer cake. And so if you don't raise your frequency, the only way to do it is to change the frequency so that you can move up. If not, you're stuck there. There's no way out. There was portals and things like that at one point, but even through the portal, if you're not a match for that, you won't stay there. You'll let's just say you'll implode, because you can't handle that 5D frequency. So 4D, where all of these, a lot of the naughty boys are, they cannot get to that, and that's relatively new. That's through the higher powers that be, that once they recognize what has happened, they block that off.
Okay. All right. So when I think about the naughty boys, and I have asked and asked, but I haven't gotten an answer, at least not the one that I've heard. So if we're trying to get the naughty boys and girls off our planet, how are we supposed to do that? Because if we take them out, if we Hillary them, they're just going to cycle back in. So what is it that we just get to a
No, they're
point where
not.
they're not?
They can't, because it depends on who the naughty boy is, because there's different types. You have those that are actually being mind controlled.
Right.
You have those that are what they call humanoids. They're a hybrid, so and they look like a regular human, different. So what's happening, that's why we raise our frequency. Their frequency is still the third dimension, and they can't come.
Okay. All right.
That's the whole goal, is they're left behind.
So I was listening to some old recordings. You'll enjoy this, Lynda, from Barbara Marciniak.
Oh yeah.
Gosh, just anyone who is listening, if you haven't listened,
Please.
please listen to them. They are old. They're like 20 years old. They are so relevant. And she goes through the period that we're in now, where the Ps do, the Palladians do, Barbara
Mhm.
Messiniak is the channel.
Mhm.
It is so spot on, and these were taped 20 years ago, and you can see
Longer
exactly
than
what's
that.
really she's disappeared. I can't find her
No,
anywhere.
she quit channeling. She was in Sedona. I think the last time she was there probably about 10 years ago, but wasn't really public. So she just quit. She's fine, but she's quit.
Okay.
Okay.
So what the Ps were saying in this channeling is that as we ascend and throw off this control system, it's like the 100th monkey for other civilizations who are under that same control grid, that the awareness that we have, I'm getting goosebumps, so I think I'm on track here,
Yeah.
that the raising of our vibration and the ability to throw off that control system is going to affect other civilizations. Is that
Yeah,
your perception as well?
exactly. That's what I said, because once we start doing that, we'll bring them with us.
Isn't that exciting?
It is. So that's why I'll just say, we can't get our panties in a wad. All we have to do is sit here and do the work. Yes, it's scary if you want to be in all that, but that's the point. They want you to get upset and fearful and dread it and think it's hopeless, but it isn't. All you have to do is, the power you have as one person is untold, because you are God's source. And I have chosen this. You have access to all that power if you just sit and go up. And if you see it, how I imagine it, to be honest, is like in a fire station, you have that pole. Well, they slide down it, and I just see myself sliding up, and that's my visualization, is I just slide up and be in there. And let me tell you one of the experiences I had. This was a few months ago. Is I woke up in the morning and I was lying in my bed, and I said to myself, I'm dying. I felt myself die. I felt every organ shut down, and I felt it just moving through my body, and I knew I was literally physically, that body died. And it was the most magnificent, peaceful, joyful thing I ever felt. And then it's just like I left my body, and I saw that so what it is, I feel that's when I shift gears, to be honest.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
only takeaway I have. So I just want to say that. And I then later, because I talked to a lot of people, one of my clients expressed to me almost the same thing. So I think this is one of the things that's out there, that signifies that we're moving into this other dimension. So why am I telling you that? Is because they're telling me to tell you to ask for it, to ask to go through this transformation and find that. And then it comes back. Then honestly, how things affected me, it, it's really when you can stand over here and not let any of that bother you, because it's like all I have to do is go within. And so the thing of it is, we can't become ourselves by ourselves. So that's why I'm saying we're here to serve others by becoming whole ourselves. It affects everything and everyone around you.
Yeah. Gosh, that's beautiful. You know, Linda, that's so interesting. In the last few weeks, and it was like a few weeks back, but there was a couple of times during this one week where it just felt like things shifted, and I would stand there and go, am I dead? You know,
Yep.
am I dead?
Yep.
And then I was wondering, like, because when you leave your body, sometimes you're not sure. And it happened a couple of times, so that seems
That's it.
that
That's
seems
it.
similar. It was freakish. And I've also had this lately where time jumps.
Yep.
Like, what? Wait a minute, where did that half hour go? You know, it's just I've had some
You'll have a
un,
lot of that.
unusual perceptions, which is interesting. You know.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've had someone ask a political question, and I'm not gonna mention the candidate or the person, but let's just talk about politics on the planet, all the tension and stuff. First of all, what are your thoughts? And second of all, how do we stay out of it without getting emotionally attached to the whole drama?
Well, how do you stay out of it? For me, it's easy. I mean, I don't know how much to say on this. If it's really bothering people, then they're going to have to deliberately make an effort to step aside, and let things play out, because this has to happen. This is the only way that we can deconstruct everything, is to have the chaos and have the destructive behavior. And there again, what do you have in there? That is the master manipulation on this. Have you noticed the two primary candidates don't talk about really what it is they can do unless they're mimicking the one that's not a candidate? And so they're bringing that in. They're not talking about the attributes that they really do bringing. All they're doing is slinging mud. So that tells you all they care about is their ego and what they want to do, and the way that they want to control or dismantle what we have. And it's just, we have to let it implode. And so this election is going to be like none other if we have it. And the outcome of that, even whomever gets there, it's a short term for whatever reason. And so that's where the real deconstruction. So when we have the next election, it'll be something completely different. How do I want to say it? Because when I go there on a timeline, because I slide on timelines and look at things, there's really no parties. It's almost like people are nominated by the masses. Problem is, the United States probably won't be the United States that we know right now.
Yeah. And that as much as we can have such an emotional attachment to the United States, the fact is that this planet has always been in movement. Civilizations have arisen, they've fallen, power is distributed, moves, this and that. So for us to think that the US is going to be here forever, it's as
Not
much as we
logical. It's really not logical.
it's not logical as much as we may like it. So there's a question from Hope. Do hybrids know they're hybrids?
Yes, most of them.
Okay. And
Not all, but most.
most. Okay.
And you have some hybrids that are out there doing the work. There's one that she lives here in town. She's very vocal. She's out there, and she's real. And even her physical appearance is a little bit different. You notice a little bit about her, and she's doing the work of bringing in light codes and things like that. So she's really one of those that understands her role as a hybrid. So yes, but it just depends. Just like everything else, not everything's 100%.
Yeah, I don't think anything could be 100% because there's so much noise right now, so much going on.
Right.
What about cleaning up the planet? What are the capabilities? Once the prime directive starts fading away and, where we can meet the neighbors, civilizations that are, a little bit more advanced technologically than we are, although there is a lot of technology on this planet, we just have been.
We don't utilize it because they don't want to, because that's another fear factor. You can use it to, look at this, look at that, because what it is at the bottom line of that is a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Because it gets you all wound up over this, over here, rather than going in here. Because once we start going in here, because we have all the technology right now, to clean up everything there is, everything.
Mm-hmm. And I would think that it would happen fairly quickly as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So final thoughts on this whole thing. And I know it can seem overwhelming because there's so much. like you said, distraction. There's so much noise, there's so much confusion. Maybe just 3 top things that we can all start embracing. And once we do it, it radiates out. It doesn't just sit on our couch with us. It affects the whole collective. So maybe 3 things, Lynda, that you would really suggest people hang on to as a practice.
Start loving yourself. And get to know who you really are, because what you know about yourself is you've been told externally. So I would say is to learn who you are and what it is that you really want to bring into the world, and not go around with people saying, well, what's my purpose? What my purpose? It can't come from somebody out there. It's inside, because it's already embedded in you. So allow yourself to have a voice and to love yourself, and really realize what a gift to be in this physical body, because it's unique. And be grateful for that. So those are things to do. And then honestly, then to do things, go within, but then externally, go look to see where you can be of service. Do something small. And I've said before, like in the grocery store, smile at somebody, do it. But maybe you have a neighbor that is older and it's difficult for them, say, to pull their weeds. Maybe you don't want to do it, but maybe hire a high school kid to go over and do that. Do things for other people in a way, and don't expect accolades or anything, and even do it quietly. Maybe they don't know what it is, whatever. So do things externally, because what that does is that creates that person. Somebody did something for them, even if they don't know who it is, it changes their frequency, it changes their vibration, even for a few minutes. But the ripple effect is huge, because it goes out energetically, and the universe, or our knowingness around us, because everything is conscious around it, that uses that frequency. So love yourself, basically, then love your neighbor. And I would say, start to speak your truth. Don't be afraid to step up, even if people don't agree with you. But if there's something that from within you that you want to say, like today, we're speaking our truth. Quit eating your words. I want to make a comment about that. I see a lot of people, because I do a lot of medical stuff, that have a lot of digestive issues, things like that. And quite frankly, the cause of that is because they do eat their words. They don't express it, and that energy needs to go somewhere. So it settles into the body and it causes problems. So speak your truth. I mean, don't go out and you don't force it on people, but when you have an opportunity or someone asks you, just very subtly, kindly, maybe say something, because all you're trying to do is activate what's already encoded in their DNA, and you saying something could be a trigger for them. So we can help this planet by so many little small things, but the impact is huge. So I would do those 3 things.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much. And easy to do, easy to implement. And think about it, if every person on the planet did that, things would shift, so
Quicker.
quickly. Yeah.
And we would enjoy. I hope everyone experiences kind of like what Kimberly talked about and I did. And I'm asking, if it's okay, I'm going to ask permission for everybody to have that experience where they're just shift, and it's subtly. So we've given you a couple of examples of what that could feel like, but I'm putting it out there, and all you have to do is invite it, because they're telling me that they're standing by. If you want to shift, they'll help you.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Lynda, it's always such a joy for me to talk with you. And this is why, because you are real. You've done the work.
Yeah.
You know the deal. there's no fluff, and it's all just from the heart. And I really, really value that very, very much. So
Thank you. I
thank you.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
But we all can. I'm not unique. I'm nothing special. Please, guys, please, please, please. You have it within you. Just go in and say, you know what? I'm ready to get on with this. Whatever you want to say. And just ask it, because they're standing by. I promise you, I see hundreds around, and they're not just mine, they're for all of you. They're standing by, they're here to serve us, and I'll allow them to help us, because the world that waits for us is, quite frankly, magical.
I know. I can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to
Yeah.
be so much fun. And we're also going to look back at this time and really value it, because it's been a master class in energy. And it's taught us so much as a collective on how we don't want to do things. We've learned some good lessons.
Yes, and the one thing I can assure you, we will not digress.
Yeah.
That is something that they told me that's a universal now, is once you ratchet up or get to the next level, there's no digression. Once you're there, you're there. And so it's nice to know that we're not going to take 2 steps forward and 1 back.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing all of us there. That'll be great. Lynda, where do we find out more about you?
LyndaDiane.com, and it's with a Y, LYNDADIANE.com.
Yeah.
I'm there. And if you need help or anything, or questions, whatever, I have an assistant. Her name's Rachel. You just email Rachel@LyndaDiane.com, and she tries to help you, direct you, answer questions, or if she can't, she gets to me, and we'll filter it down. We're here to serve, any way that is, and we are humbled and grateful to everyone, because that means you're showing up and you're helping, you're in the trenches, and that needs to be acknowledged, and we appreciate that.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lynda. I hope you'll come back and see us again sometime.
Well, if you invite me and the powers that be are there to help, we can do it.
To fix the computers. Yeah.
My
All right.
goodness. Yeah.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Bye now.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you next
Bye-bye.
time. Okay. Bye-bye.